Caitlin Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in the WNBA.
Did you see Caitlin Clark's tough playoff debut? Things took a turn when Dijonai Carrington accidentally poked her in the eye, instantly transforming the game from challenging to disastrous.
But damn it, in the first 2 minutes of this game, this Dijonai Carrington stabbed Caitlin Clark with her fingernails right in the eye.
Now, all eyes are on Clark as fans eagerly anticipate whether she can recover in the next game or if her season might be over before it even truly starts.
We've seen the animus directed at Caitlin Clark all year. It reached a boiling point yesterday.
This was meant to be a defining moment for Clark, her highly anticipated playoff debut. But in an instant, everything changed unexpectedly.
Caitlin Clark played a terrible game, shot 4 of 17 from the field. The Indiana Fever got curb stomped by the Connecticut Sun. I get it. She had a bad game. Connecticut Sun looked good. They looked experienced. They brought a level of intensity and physicality that the Fever weren't ready for.
Carrington's accidental hit didn't just leave Clark with a swollen eye. It sent shockwaves throughout the entire basketball community.
There was no foul call. There was no real discussion of it on the ESPN broadcast. ESPN wrote a story after the game that did not mention that the biggest star in the history of the WNBA, the first woman to ever be the biggest star in American sports, was assaulted 2 minutes into the game on a dirty play with one of these women with these long fake fingernails that stabbed her in the eye.
You might assume a minor injury wouldn't matter much, but it significantly affected her performance.
Do you think that had any impact on the game? Do you think that your meal ticket should be stabbed in the eye intentionally on the court 2 minutes into the game and there's no problem here?
Clark's scoring dropped dramatically from an impressive 20 points per game to just 11. It's incredible how one moment can derail her standout rookie season so quickly.
It's not worthy of discussion. I read this ESPN story. Alyssa Thomas had a triple-double and so-and-so scored X number of points and the Connecticut Sun knock off the Fever. And I'm reading this story. I'm like, where's the mention of the fact that the Michael Jordan of the WNBA was assaulted, has a black eye during the second half of the game because Dijonai Carrington stabbed her with her fingernails in the eye?
This situation extends far beyond just Clark and Carrington. It has the potential to disrupt the entire WNBA landscape.
Caitlin Clark's trying to pass the ball in the first 2 minutes of the game, and this woman swats at the basketball and somehow decides to turn her hand down and her fingernails and jab them right into the eye of Caitlin Clark.
How will the league respond? What does this incident mean for player safety in the WNBA? The ripple effects could influence how the league approaches physical play in the future.
No foul call. No refs stopping the game to go look. Is this a flagrant? None of that. Just everybody moved on. Your biggest star, your meal ticket, the reason why you have relevancy, just got stabbed and assaulted and nothing.
Stay tuned as we explore these questions further. A black eye may seem like a minor setback for a pro athlete, but for Clark, it disrupted more than just her vision. It impacted her entire game. Her coach had to completely rethink their strategy, and the stats clearly reflect the challenges Clark faced after that hit.
Has a history with Caitlin Clark, like many of these girls in the WNBA, but she's at the top of the list along with Kennedy Carter in Chicago and Angel Reese. Those three. But here's earlier in the season, Dijonai Carrington mocking Caitlin Clark on the court, played a very physical game with her back then too. And look, does Caitlin Clark do some histrionics, some flopping, and perhaps I'm giving them this out on what happened yesterday.
Typically, Clark averages around 20 points per game, but this time she only managed 11, a shocking 45% drop in her scoring. To make matters worse, her shooting percentage plummeted to just 23.5%. It felt like watching a top sharpshooter suddenly lose their rhythm.
It's not a natural act. And I called it out yesterday in real time watching the game. Like, hey, that was on purpose. That was not an accident.
But the struggles didn't stop there. Clark's entire game was thrown off balance. Those precise passes we expect from her turned into turnovers instead.
That was on purpose. Is Caitlin Clark making too much of it? Is she exaggerating it, trying to get the call? You can think both things. You can think, hey, this is on purpose and it's a dirty play. But you could also think, is Caitlin Clark making too much of this? And then later in the game, when they mentioned, like, hey, you can see the black eye on Caitlin Clark's face, I was like, oh, yeah, that was it. It was intentional and it did real damage.
Yet, the difficulties didn't end there. Clark's whole game lost its flow. The precise passes we're used to seeing from her became costly turnovers.
Hey, man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all season. And again, I've admitted, some of them have been exaggerated. It's just typical rough play with girls. But there are some that it's just been dirty. And Dijonai is one of these people that has a real problem with Caitlin Clark.
Plays that typically unfolded smoothly turned into forced attempts as she struggled to perform with her impaired vision. You might wonder, can't she just power through? But competing at this level demands more than just grit and determination. It requires quick thinking and sharp instincts, and with one eye injured, Clark's ability to judge distances was compromised. It's like trying to thread a needle with one eye closed, an immense challenge she encountered on every play. Clark's injury sent shockwaves through the entire Indiana Fever. Coach Christie Sides faced a tough situation as their meticulously crafted game plan became obsolete. They had to adapt on the fly, with their star player now functioning at only half her usual capacity. Can you imagine the emotional toll this took on Clark and her teammates? This was supposed to be her moment to shine in the playoffs, a chance to showcase her skills. Instead, she was left scrambling just to keep pace. The frustration was palpable on her face with every missed shot and errant pass. What's truly remarkable is that this situation didn't just highlight Clark's physical struggles. It showcased her mental fortitude. Even with one eye nearly shut, she kept battling, refusing to back down or exit the game. That kind of grit is what truly distinguishes great players from the rest. Clark has undeniably shown she possesses the heart of a champion, but that black eye casts a shadow over the league. The Wnba faces a pressing need to ensure the safety of its star players without sacrificing the game's intensity. What's unfolding feels more chaotic than competitive. Remember when sinking a three-pointer seemed like the toughest challenge in basketball. Now, the league is grappling with much larger issues. The Wnba must find a way to protect players like Clark while still delivering the thrilling gameplay that fans crave. It's akin to trying to defend without committing fouls. Sounds simple, but it's far more complicated.
Look, I'm not pissed to the point where I'm annoyed and I'm going to call people out their names, or especially people that I love, like the person I'm about to talk about in a few minutes. She struggled with physical defense she's faced at the professional level and voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what Caitlin Clark said, that it was a cheap shot. It was not a basketball play. She should have been ejected, number one. Number two, there should have been a fine that was incurred thereafter. Number three, not to say that there won't be or hasn't been at this moment in time, I don't know of one. I know the team was fined for media availability purposes because people weren't available to talk.
Caitlin Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in the WNBA.
Did you hear about Caitlin Clark? The WNBA star just suffered a painful eye poke from Dijonai Carrington. Now, people are questioning whether it was intentional and why the referees didn't make a call. This situation is causing quite a stir in the league.
It's important that we point this out. One of the things that I brought up this morning in talking about Caitlin Clark is that some of the players, you want to use the word jealousy, fine. You want to use the word envy, fine.
Imagine this. It's a tense playoff game, and the crowd is buzzing with excitement. Suddenly, Bam Carrington accidentally pokes Clark in the eye. The arena falls silent as Clark visibly reacts in pain, but shockingly, the referees don't call a foul. Fans are outraged, and honestly, who wouldn't be?
And because of her box office attraction, it's generating more eyeballs to the WNBA product, therefore more revenue for the WNBA product. Don't you think y'all are going to benefit from that too? Look at the big picture.
But here's where it gets intriguing. Was it merely an unfortunate accident, or was there more to it?